Hello, I am Doodoo Stuff, and I would greatly appreciate it if you like and subscribe because we're trying to hit 400 subscribers. Anyway, let's get into it. The Sonic the Hedgehog series is loved or hated by many people. Sonic the Hedgehog started out in 1991, and it was great and well received, until the early 2000s, when Sonic games started to become generally disliked until 2019, where the comeback of the Sonic series began. In 2020, the Sonic series was in the dark. The most recent mainline Sonic game was Sonic Forces, which was released in 2017, and that game flopped and was generally disliked. One Sonic game had released after Sonic Forces, and that was Team Sonic Racing, which was not very enjoyed by fans and had a dead online within 2 days. It had been 2 years since the mainline Sonic game in 2019, and the Sonic series was starting to slowly die out until a very fateful day for the Sonic series came about, and it would decide whether the series could come back or whether it would just be failed and it would never be good again. Early 2019, a trailer was uploaded for a Sonic movie. This was met with harsh reception due to Sonic's terrible-looking design, and I agree. He looked like a literal demon. Sonic, what have they done to you? So the movie was delayed for redesign of Sonic. Sonic fans still expected the movie to fail anyway, until the next trailer was released and the design looked good. It looked more like Sonic, and fans' idea of the movie changed. Some were still skeptical about it, but others were starting to get very excited. If the movie succeeded, it could lead to new fans being brought to the Sonic series and old fans regaining hope for the series' future. It all depends on the movie. What if it failed? Would it be good? The people just had to wait. On February 14th, 2020, Sonic the Hedgehog was released. It was a massive hit, making $319 million worldwide, which was insane. It was so well received by fans and casual viewers that, in late 2021, a trailer for the second movie was released, showing that there would be Tails and Knuckles. This got fans even more excited. The Sonic series was gaining more and more attention. Would it be able to handle it? Well, yeah, it did. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was released on April 8, 2022. It made over $405 million in the box office, which is almost $100 million more than the first movie, which is insane. But it was announced that we have to wait until 2024 for another movie, so old and new fans turned to the Sonic video games, which is one of the most important parts of the entire franchise. Sonic Colors Ultimate was released on September 7th, 2021. It was a remaster of Sonic Colors that was released in 2010, which was one of the most well-received Sonic games at the time. At launch, the game was very buggy and unplayable, and there were lots of glitches that needed to be fixed, otherwise the game would have just been not fun to play at all, and fans and Sega knew this. This got fixed and I bought the game. It was a good amount of fun, but nothing truly special. On June 23rd, 2022, we got Sonic Origins. It was a remaster of every single classic Sonic game. This game allowed me to experience Sonic games that I hadn't played before. It was fun, but it was just another remaster, not a completely new game. Sonic Origins got DLC in 2023, which introduced Amy as a playable character and added in a remaster of all the Sonic Game Gear games. But that's pretty much it for Sonic Origins. It just wasn't a new game at all. In 2022, Sonic Prime was also released. It was an animated TV show. It had 3 seasons that were released across the span of 2022 and 2023. The show was about Sonic going through shattered spaces trying to bring back his friends. In every shattered space, there were Sonic's friends. They did not remember him, and it was only a part of his friend's personality. For example, 9 was only a little bit of Tails' personality. The first season was the best season, and the other seasons were a little bit worse, but they do not deserve to be hated on. Then, there was actually a new mainline Sonic game that was actually original and not just a remaster, and that really was what brought the series back. The last mainline Sonic game was released 5 years ago at this point, and people wanted a new game, not a spin-off like Team Sonic Racing, not a flop like Sonic Forces. They wanted a good Sonic game. Sonic Frontiers had its first bit of gameplay showcased in the middle of 2022, and fans were disappointed. They said it looked too much like other open-world games, and that it looked boring and weird that there would be nothing to do in the open world. But as more and more gameplay and trailers were released, fans started to realize something. Sonic Frontiers might actually be good. Some were skeptical, but others, like me at the time, were getting very excited for the game. On November 8th, 2022, the game was released, and fans loved it. The open world had so many things to do, and the gameplay was fun and challenging. Some aspects of the game were disliked, like cyberspace, which I don't understand why it was really hated, but the overall reception of the game was good. I enjoyed the game a lot and can say with confidence that Sonic Frontiers is my favorite Sonic game of all time. I was mostly into speedrunning it, that's why I played it a lot. While Sonic Frontiers was good, fans wanted more, and Sega heard that. So they announced 3 DLC updates that would be releasing in 2023. Fans were getting excited, and the best part was, it was free. You did not have to pay to play the DLC. So, let's get into what the DLC actually was. On March 22nd, 2023, the Sights, Sounds, and Speed update was released for Sonic Frontiers. This update added the Jukebox feature, which introduced collectibles around the Starfall Islands. When you collected a music note, you would get a song that came from a random game in the franchise. Then, there was a photo mode. is that it was a scam because Sega couldn't actually let you take photos with it. What's the point about photo mode if you can't take photos? But it did allow me to take some cool screenshots, which are basically the same thing as photos, so I guess it's okay, and I guess it counts. It also introduced battle mode, which is a feature where you could face off against all the enemies on each Starfall Island to get the best time possible. Then there was cyberspace challenge mode, which allowed you to race through all the cyberspace stages at once to get the best time possible. After playing around the new update for a couple months, the second update for Sonic Frontiers released. Sonic's Birthday Bash was the name for the second Sonic Frontiers update, being released on June 23rd, 2023 to celebrate Sonic's 32nd anniversary. There were birthday party decorations that could be applied to the Starfall Island, and even a costume for Sonic. Along with that came the action chain challenges, which was the main part of the update. If you completed all the action chain challenges, you would unlock the Spin Dash, which was a feature originally planned for the game but was later scrapped. At least it came back in this update though, because it's really fun to play around with. The Spin Dash changes the entire way you play Sonic Frontiers. You can take more shortcuts and levels, cross gaps for a bottomless pit a lot easier. I would recommend unlocking the Spin Dash if you do have Sonic Frontiers. Also, it introduced New Game Plus, which was a way where you could play the game, but you start with all of your abilities in Sonic Frontiers instead of just starting without any abilities at all, which was actually really useful and it's actually cool because you can start the game with the Spin Dash if you just want to play a new game and have the Spin Dash as well, instead of just having to unlock it all again. Anyway, that's all that happened in Update 2, and then, finally, the third update release, which was the most anticipated update, and it would change the entire ending of Sonic Frontiers. Final Horizon. This update intended to fix the ending of Sonic Frontiers because the original ending felt very rushed and unfinished. It was also going to add Tails, Knuckles, and Amy as playable characters. In this update, it was the best Amy has probably ever played in the Sonic game. The other characters played very well, but I think they still played better in the adventure games. On September 28, 2023, the Final Horizon was released. I remember staying up very late to play it because I had gotten so excited for it. I probably shouldn't have done that, but what happened is just what happened. Was the update good though? Did it fix any of the game? Were the characters fun to play as? Yes, they were. The characters were very fun to play as, but there were some times they were criticized, such as the glide for Knuckles taking way too long to start. That was changed later on, so that's a W for Sonic Team for listening to the fans. This is just random, but YouTube is telling me that 76% of you are not subscribed, so subscribe. I remember watching a video saying that Knuckles had a better glide in the beta files of the game, which, if that is true, I don't know why Sonic Team decided to add in that terrible glide. I'll leave a link to the video in the description if I can find it. A new form for Sonic was revealed, known as Super Sonic 2 by many fans, or Cyber Sonic. The Final Horizon fixed the ending of the game, and that was primarily why Sonic Frontiers 2 became one of my favorite Sonic games of all time. Overall, Frontiers proved that Sega could make good Sonic games again, and that was true, and people were starting to get hope for the Sonic franchise once again. Now that fans were getting excited for the reveal of the next Sonic game. Before the Final Horizon came out, there was a trailer for a new classic Sonic game. It was called Sonic Superstars, and it will be released on October 17th, 2023. People looked at the gameplay and the art style and thought that Superstars had the potential to be the best Sonic game ever. More and more was revealed, and the fans could not wait. You were just getting finished with Final Horizon, and now there was going to be another new Sonic game releasing around a month later. That was just crazy. I remember being very excited for the game. When it came out though, people were disappointed. Not with the game. The levels were not bad. It's just that Sonic Superstars was one of the hardest Sonic games ever made. Some were saying that it was actually the hardest Sonic game, and it was even harder than Sonic Unleashed. Now, besides the bosses, the gameplay outside of that was great. I believe Superstars was the best the classic Sonic game has ever controlled, and I do love the art style. I like it more than 16-bit. I just love 2.5D art styles, and I think it looks really good. But I do understand that people did not like the spike in difficulty, especially in the later levels of the game. Some of the most hated bosses in the entire game were the Fang boss, in the main story and Trip story, which I never actually beat. I used the speedrun skip to skip this boss in both of the stories, and I'm never going to actually try and beat it. And also, the main story's final boss was hated. I actually beat this one, but I used the glitch that makes you Supersonic for an infinite amount of time, that way you can't take damage, so it probably doesn't count. And the Trip story final boss, it took me 3 hours to skip this boss, but I probably would not have beat it in those 3 hours anyway, so I guess it was worth it. And the final Purple Dragon boss that came out of nowhere and was really funny to a lot of people, myself included. I never actually beat this boss because I thought the gameplay was boring, so I can't really give an opinion on the actual fight. I believe there was an animation that was released with a mural depicting the Purple Dragon, but I'm not sure. It was like 2 years ago, so I can't really remember that much. Sorry. You guys can correct me all you want in the comments, by the way. I'd love to know if you guys know anything about this. After a while, the glitches and the speedrun skips were removed, which kind of killed my enjoyment of the game a lot. I did go back and try playing it before recording this video, and I did have some fun times. But I still couldn't beat the Fang boss, and it's been 2 years, and I have to try and do it at some point. Anyway, enough about that. After Superstars was released and was met with some mixed receptions, the game was overall considered good, so no one really thought much about it. Superstars did get some LEGO skins and Shadow skins released, but no major DLC like Sonic Frontiers did. So, we've gotten so much Sonic content in 2023, but there is no way we could get more Sonic content, right? Nah, we got an entirely new Sonic game. This game was Sonic Dream Team. This game was good, but there were some issues. The Sonic community didn't dislike the gameplay or the actual game, but they disliked the accessibility of the game. The game was unlimited to mobile devices. That is a downgrade, but here's another problem. It was only on Apple devices. And guess what? If you thought I couldn't get any more limited or worse, you had to have a paid Apple Arcade subscription. I was able to get a 6-month free trial, which is how I actually played the game. But besides accessibility, was the game good? Yeah, it was. It was so good that it could be compared to 3D Sonic games that were on consoles. The controls were great. Some things you could not do with Stomp, but since it was a mobile game, the controls were very limited. And I didn't really mind. There were 6 playable characters in the game, and they were all categorized into types. The speed type was Sonic and Amy. The flying types were Cream and Tails. The gliding and climbing types were Rouge and Knuckles. This offered 3 different playstyles to the game, which was great. This allowed you to take different routes and levels based on which character you were playing as. There were 4 total zones in the game, and they were all great. The aesthetic and music was pleasing. Sonic Dream Team's success had Sega planning more mobile Sonic games, with Sonic Rumble supposed to release in November 2025. I hope the game actually releases this time, though. Overall, Sonic Dream Team was another success for the Sonic series, giving fans even more hope that games in the series were starting to become really good again. Then, we were in the dark for a few months until Sonic X Shadow Generations was revealed. Sonic Team was going to remaster Sonic Generations, one of the best Sonic games of all time. People were confused why Sonic Generations needed a remaster, but that is a topic that I covered in another video. Soon after, Sonic Movie 3 was revealed, and there was Shadow in it as a new character. All this Shadow content had Sega dubbed 2024 as the year of Shadow, trying to focus all their content on Shadow instead of Sonic in the year 2024. On October 25th, 2024, Sonic X Shadow Generations was released. This was also the first Sonic game that I bought on the day that it was released. The Sonic Generations part of the game had some new features. There was a drop dash for both classic Sonic and modern Sonic. But there were unfortunately some problems. The original version of Sonic Generations got delisted from every store, meaning that if you wanted to play Sonic Generations, you had to buy Sonic X Shadow Generations. Another problem was that all the cutscenes were rewritten. It would have been fine if the cutscenes were also reanimated, because sometimes the characters in the old cutscenes will be talking about something, but in the new game, where those things are not mentioned, it seems very off. Now, Shadow Generations was the main part of the game. I am not joking when I say that the levels in this game have the best level design in maybe the entire series. One 3D stage in this game is about 5 to 6 minutes of gameplay. One 2D stage is about 2 to 3 minutes. These stages are long, but not boring. My favorite stage is Kingdom Valley because of all the different paths that you were able to take. Later, before the third Sonic the Hedgehog movie released, we got a Tokyo DLC for Shadow Generations. You did have to buy the digital deluxe version to be able to play this stage, but the stage was amazing. The animation really showed Sonic Team had improved their animation skills in Sonic Frontiers. Now we move on from Shadow Generations to Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that came out in theaters only a few weeks later. On December 20th, 2024, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 came out in theaters. It was a massive success. It was the second highest earning video game movie of all time, losing to the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It made $462 million in the box office, almost $60 million more than the second film. The success of the Year of Shadow was great, and it was nice to have all the attention focused on a different character instead of Sonic for 1 year. Now, we move on to the current year, 2025. At the beginning of 2025, Sonic Racing Crossworlds was announced. It was a new Sonic Racing title, but fans were skeptical. The last racing title, Team Sonic Racing, from 2019, had a dead online mode within literally 2 days of the game releasing. Honestly, I was not going to pay much attention to Sonic Racing Crossworlds. The Crossworld mechanics seemed cool, but not revolutionary. Now, though, Sonic Racing Crossworlds is one of my top 3 favorite Sonic games, and I have over 60 hours in the game, but that's for later. Sega decided to let the fans play the game for a free closed network test for the game. You had to sign up to play, and personally, I didn't sign up, but from looking at videos and live streams of the beta, people were saying it was fun, but the items needed to be severely nerfed. So Sega listened. In August, Sega released an open network test for the game for anyone to try out without signing up. The open network test is how I discovered Crossworlds and made me decide to buy the game when it came out. Around a month later, on September 22nd, 2025, the game was released for digital deluxe owners like me. One unfortunate fact is that the day I bought this game was the day I broke my finger, so I had to get a cast and surgery later that week. As of this recording, my cast is off and I am feeling a lot better. Mostly because I don't have a 10-pound weight on my entire arm. And anyway, that's a story for later. But let's get back on track. Crossworlds was amazing, and right now I'm currently at Legend 9 rank. I'll make a video talking about how my rank got that high, but actually that video's out right now. I feel like over the years, Sonic Racing Crossworlds will be remembered as the best Sonic Racing game, especially with the Crossworlds gimmick. With the Crossworlds gimmick, the person in first place at the end of the first lap can choose which track you go to for your second lap, which makes it so that two races will never be the same. So far, at the time of recording this, we have 2 confirmed Sonic projects releasing. Sonic Rumble will be releasing on November 5th. By the time you see this video, it's probably out already, and I feel like Sega killed all the hype for the game, considering it was going to be released in December 2024, I believe, but then it got delayed. The other project is Sonic Movie 4, releasing on March 19th, 2027, around 2 years from now. Overall, the 2020 era of Sonic brought the series back, and I will probably make another video like this in 5 years if I still do YouTube in 2030, looking at all the Sonic content released from 2020 to 2030. Anyway, remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Doodoo Stuff out.